Each of us has our own unique background and story of how we became a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
Our reach is far and wide, with fans all over the world cheering on our Kansas City Chiefs.
Everyone donning the red and gold has figuratively signed that mutual agreement and come together for one common purpose.
For 76,000 of us at a time, to descend upon Arrowhead, man our stations, let out our loudest battle cry to the tune of 142.2 decibels, and make that stadium rock until our opponents beg for mercy.
We are unrelenting in our pride for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies, Arrowhead Allies.
Welcome into Arrowhead Allies, everyone.
Hey.
Noah Groniger alongside Clint Schweitzer. We got our guy Shaggy Shane Williams from Shaggy Shane Entertainment, Michael Matthew from TGN, The Good News, and Brian B. Shiner from Hot 103 Jams.
Yes, sir.
Guys, feels good to get back in the W column. I am ready for it. The Jags presented a tough challenge, but the Chiefs, and especially that defense, were up to it.
Yeah, man, complete nail biter. Oh, my God. Look, man, this defense, I cannot wait to dive into that. There are some things that I saw that need to be talked about, gentlemen. I can't wait.
Yeah, giving up less than 200 yards passing to Trevor Lawrence, who was Michael Matthews' preseason NFL MVP. And I think that we highlighted it last week. The Jaguars receivers that we all looked at, I called them the triangle of terror. And the Chiefs did such a good job for the most part, and it all started up front, getting pressure. Chris Jones backing at it. He didn't miss a beat. Who needs training camp or week one? Brian, last week you talked about how that felt like a preseason game. Maybe that's what it was for the Kansas City Chiefs. Week one against the Lions feels like it just exists out there in the ether somewhere. The real ball got played. You want to win these AFC games. That's going to be a big win for the Chiefs when it gets to January, and you got the tiebreaker of the Jaguars. That's a big one, guys.
Yeah, man, I can't wait, to talk more about, what we were able to see. The defense is amazing. And I know Nick Wright was on TV and he was talking about it. And, he showed love to the kingdom. But, I can't wait to really, attack it, because I still think the Jacksonville Jaguars will be amazing the rest of this year. It's just this Chiefs team, this defense is to another level that we haven't seen in a long time. So I am so excited going forward.
Anytime that you can go on the road and face a foe and their home opener, a foe that is within the top 3 or 4 of the AFC, who's right there with you, and your defense can hold them to legitimately 6 points. Richie James gave him 3, and to tighten up, to play that solid, what I'm seeing that I love about this team already with 2 games, and Chris Jones has only played in 1 of them, is the fact that the defense is playing great. We've never seen it this early. We've seen, they're going up against a third-string quarterback, or their entire left side of their offensive line is hurt, or they're missing their running back, or they're all-pro wide receivers. This was a team in Jacksonville offensively, on paper, and in a damn good coaching staff, can and will be there in January, more likely to play the Chiefs. Anytime you can go on the road and your defense play that great, you freaking take it, even if it is 17-9, because in years past, we know it's how's Patrick Mahomes going to bail out, how's Patrick Mahomes going to help the defense, how's Patrick Mahomes going to overcome the shortcomings of the secondary. You take this win and you take it and you stick your chest out and you say, heck yeah, baby. Heck yeah.
Because like Nick Wright said, that you feel like, okay, what do we look at right now? What's struggling? The offense, the receivers getting open, penalties, the line, Jawaan Taylor. And just like you brought up, Michael, Nick Wright said it best. I can't say it any better than he did. Yeah, you want to put your money on Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes that they'll get that part figured out. So if that's the case, and this defense is playing as well as it is, you guys, we got to look to this as a positive right now. Brian, you mentioned that it was a nail biter. I didn't really consider it a nail biter. I mean, the Chiefs really had control, and once they got the lead, never gave the lead up. So I didn't really consider it like your classic nail biter down to the wire. The Jaguars just didn't prove that they could move the ball down the field and put the ball in the end zone, or certainly couldn't drag their feet in the back of it to try to tie the game.
And for the Chiefs to play so terrible offensively with the turnovers, and not running the ball early on, for them to even win the way that they did, like the Chiefs could have been one of those teams that said, hey, let's kick a field goal here at the end, 29, we win, or let's try to get it in the end zone running the ball, but they ran the clock out. So it would have been a 2-score game, but, man, it was just a performance that, man, shocked me, but let me know that this defense means business. You got it, Brian.
Well, to me, I mean, look, the Jaguars were, for most of the game, 1 score away from really making it dicey. There were several trips in the red zone to where, if Trevor Lawrence just, dials down the heat on the ball a little bit, the Jaguars definitely are well within trying to win this game. And we done seen things get iffy a lot of times with these close games the past couple of years, So I just thought that the Jaguars just never went away. The Chiefs were never able offensively to put them away. And we'll get into the turnovers and all of that. But, man, the Jaguars are not a slouch. The Lions are not a slouch. They're not. Look, man, the NFL is very even this year. There are some terrible teams,
like the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, the Bears or the Cardinals. They're not very good. Broncos, they're not very good. But then you got some pretty good teams, not great teams. Chiefs, Niners, Cowboys.
Dolphins.
Yeah, those are nobody's great right now. Nobody.
Yeah,
nobody. Like the Bengals aren't as bad as they are with their 0-2 record. But I tell you what, the Jaguars are, to me, they're like junior Super Bowl contenders. They're in the mix for that. They were 1 game away from the AFC Championship game last year. So it was an impressive performance, man. Seriously. The red zone stops against that offense and Trevor Lawrence, fellas. Crazy, man. They went crazy on defense, Michael.
Man, you got it, Shane.
No, it just you take it. You take this win and you address your faults. Like I said, we're going to get to the faults of Jawaan Taylor getting pulled, the turnovers, the bad snaps. Patrick Mahomes trying to hit Justin Watson deep. We're going to get on that later. But,
how about right now?
Let's do it. Jawaan Taylor. Now that Noah has threw the stat up, let's get right to it. Jawaan Taylor flagged 5 times versus Jacksonville. He was brought in to be, when we signed him in free agency, we gave him a lot of money to be our future left tackle. He's going to be our left tackle. Then in early June, Brett Veach brings in Donovan Smith to be our starting left tackle. So they say, well, let's just put Jawaan Taylor back where he is successful. He has been a successful right tackle for the first 5 years in the league. We're going to be solid. And now, week 1, Collinsworth calls him out for not lining up properly. Then Thursday, 5 days ago or Thursday, they announced that they're going to start throwing the flag. And then
that's awful. That is awful.
Then they started throwing the flag, even though they didn't call it on Lane Johnson 4 days earlier. They threw it on Jawaan Taylor basically because Collinsworth called him out. He has been lining up like this pictured. Jawaan Taylor has been lining up like this as a right tackle going back to his.
Oh, no, this one's really bad.
What's that?
That's bad. That is awful.
Really bad.
I know, but he has been lining up like that as a Jacksonville Jaguar. He didn't just come to the Chiefs and say, I'm going to line up 3 feet behind everybody else. He has always lined up by that. But since he's on the Chiefs, it's becoming a fact that, okay, we got to address it. He's got to move up to the line of scrimmage. Me and you and the whole world can pontificate and debate how he should line up. They weren't calling this on Jawaan Taylor until he became a Kansas City Chief, and now he is. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit apart. We're starting out the season. We're all paying attention to this game this night. Chris Collinsworth had it. It's prime time, and he's up there. He's just noticing it. I don't know how many Jags games he did last year, but he's in the booth. He's noticing it. He's calling it out. It's the game that every single person's eyes are on, the NFL season opener. And so the NFL kind of had to take that into their offices in New York and say, okay, I guess we're going to crack down. But then they only cracked down against Jawaan Taylor. I didn't see Lane Johnson or Trent Williams out there getting flagged a million times. So it makes you think, but he's got to deal with it. It's something that he has to deal with. He can't just say that's not fair. It's a one-game thing.
Because Lane Johnson has been on major, the Eagles are shown a lot. So you were seeing him line up the same exact way. So it was just a tough situation. But I don't know. It felt like he was kind of getting picked on because other than the penalties, he played some good football, out there as a right tackle, but it really felt like they were picking on him. But he just has to adjust. That's why they subbed him out. Andy had to talk to him and get him right back in there. But he just had to adjust, and I think he will going forward.
Yeah, we're going to get into that with our Fox Fox NFL rules analyst Dean Blandino coming up, guys. So we're going to get, you don't have to take our word for it, because Dean Blandino is coming to you here on Arrowhead Allies. That's coming up here in about 15 minutes.
Yes, sir. I mean, I got some. I might hold him for Dean Blandino, but I know we're going to have questions. I'm going to just fire him off with Jawaan Taylor, because I have so many thoughts. Number one, 5 penalties is excessive as a player. A lot of players don't get 5 penalties in an entire season. All right. So, yes, the spotlight was on him. Shaggy mentioned Collinsworth calling him out, but he was dead wrong. He was lined up in the backfield. Technically speaking, in football, you can't do that. It's illegal. And yes, we are the Chiefs. We are the Super Bowl champions. The target is always going to be at our back. They're always going to try and find any advantage they can and try and go against the Chiefs. This right here is egregious. If you look at the tip of his helmet, it's not even close to the center's butt. And the rule is it has to be at the way. It has to break the center's waistline. That's the rule. And as an offensive line, a tackle, yes, in the NFL and college, to protect against the pass rush, you have to have your stance back in the backfield just a little bit. But that's egregious. Normally, you're taught to line up right next to the guard. And then here's the thing that I hate, and I know in the league where there are some dead giveaways, situational giveaways as to what you're doing. All right, it's 3rd and 15. I bet they're passing. They're doing something like that. Okay, 3rd and 2, fine. They're running the ball. We know we might get a knuckle sandwich here. Teams know what we're doing based on your stance. Now,
the plays.
Like you're giving away the play, Jawaan Taylor. What are we doing? And it's the 2nd and 8s that we need to be concerned about. It's the 3rd and 4s, the 3rd and 5s, those crucial downs where man, you can't just give away the play just off your stance. And again, I know it's a league where they know based on certain keys and how guys are lined up or whatever, based on film and things that they've watched extensively, they might already know what you're doing. But don't just give them the playbook, Jawaan Taylor. You can't just do that. With all that being, one more thing, let me close with this. With all that being said, I think it's been blown out of proportion due to Collinsworth calling it out, and then the preceding week, them reacting to that calling out and actually paying attention to it. Now, I thought that Jawaan Taylor should have came in more prepared and like, okay, these refs about to get on my ass this game, so I need to buckle up a little more. But he didn't. But now he's learned his lesson, and I think he'll be better after this throughout the rest of the season.
But, we all know the Patriots rule. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. So you got to try to do, a little bit and see what you can get away with, just like tugging at a receiver out there. You know what I'm saying? I was watching a college football game. The Miami defense was clapping to try to get the other team to false start. So, I guess he was trying to see what he can get away with. Like I said, we see it from Lane Johnson. We see it from Trent Williams. But now, since he was picked on, he was caught, he's just going to have to adjust, and he's going to be all right.
Yeah, I want to get to some of these comments, guys. We got Justin Lee in here. Fellas, can we address the Mahomes contract and cap implications? Do we think it opens up some money? And if so, is it for Chris Jones extension, a wide receiver, both? Appreciate y'all. We appreciate you for that question and comment, Justin Lee. And it does open up $2.5 million this season. Field Yates reported that. I don't really know. I don't think it's going to move the needle as far as Chris Jones is concerned or a wide receiver. I think they're kind of relatively happy with their bunch, and who you're going to go out there and get. Is Albert Wilson available? I don't know who they want to go out there and get. So that was a joke by everyone.
Want to go get Sean LaChapelle?
Exactly.
Professor Morris.
But yeah, I don't think it's really for anything. It's just they wanted to get Mahomes this new deal, make him the highest paid quarterback or near the top along with Joe Burrow, to show him the respect. And that ends in 2026. After the 2026 season, then they'll have to revisit his contract moving forward.
And to second my opinion on that, Lee, what's his name?
Justin Lee.
Justin, my response to that is I think the $2.5 million for emergency situations, like we seen with the Browns last night, they lost Nick Chubb. I don't think Kareem Hunt's going to cost a lot of money, but Kareem Hunt knows the system. It's the same coaching staff, but keeping $2.5 million available for the cap, they could probably work somebody else's contract if they needed to, if God forbid we had a plethora of injuries. But I think that $2.5 million extra is going to be for emergency situation. What do you think, Clint?
I think that this gives Patrick Mahomes also control over his future, and his agents did a really good job by setting this up, doing it the way they did it. Because guys, in 4 years, this Kansas City Chiefs organization could look completely different than it does right now. Andy Reid could be on his way out. We don't know how long he wants to coach. Travis Kelce would be 38 years old at this time. So this gives Patrick Mahomes at age 32 a chance to control his future, a chance to have a say-so in who the Chiefs are going to bring in as the next head coach, or to see if the Chiefs just refuse and can't draft a receiver, Brett Veach just can't do it, keep churning out Sky Moores of the world, and we just can't get it figured out.
Oh, don't do that. He leads the league in yards. He leads the Chiefs in yards, man.
Oh, good. Well, that's exciting.
Watson does.
Yeah, I mean, that's
he might have yesterday, but
congratulations out. And the Philadelphia Eagles got a second place silver medal sent to them via FedEx here a couple months ago too. But no, this gives Patrick Mahomes a chance to just be more in control of his future, I think. And hey, if this organization's falling apart, we've seen it before. You got the wrong hire in here. You bring in somebody that's not going to work well with Patrick. He has a way to have control of perhaps being a free agent at that time and going elsewhere. I know it's crazy to say that, but that's what this is more about, I think, guys.
He'll be extended way before then.
More than likely, but there's an out here.
They wanted to make sure that he got his due because I think he dropped to like 5th or 6th when it came to quarterback pay. So that, they wanted $210 million, for the next 4 years, like the most ever.
Yeah.
So, they wanted him to get that. And, with Pat, what we've learned, he's always doing something contractual that can help out the team. So it's going to be something that's going to be able to help this team because he's chasing the ghost of Tom Brady. Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls, so he's going to need all he can get from this team to get to that 7 Super Bowls or more. So he's going to do whatever. So I love this deal. Now, I know one thing, that he can take out all of us allies out for dinner and drinks and all that, this money that he has. So
we will bring that up. We'll see.
Out to Pat.
He might have been able to do that before this influx of $210 million over the next 4 years, but maybe not. Maybe he needed this. He does have a nice house. But what does this Mahomes contract mean for Bolton Creed, Trey Smith next offseason?
Good question.
Clint and Shaggy and I were kind of in here before getting things ready, and we had talked about how we don't think Creed's going to be here. They didn't pay Rodney Hudson. They didn't pay Mitch Morse. We're going to get into some low snaps for Creed Humphrey that Mahomes is surely not liking as he's having to pick the ball up off the ground and go run for his life and almost get his head taken off. Shaggy said he saw some in Super Bowl 57 as well. So I don't know if Creed's here, but I think they definitely want to get Nick Bolton and Trey Smith signed. I don't know if this deal moves the needle. I think they were going to create money and find money to make those two situations happen no matter what.
Whatever happens next spring on Arrowhead Allies, it's going to be huge because we're going to cover the entire free agent situation, Michael. So you definitely want to stay here, but we'll address that come March. It's
more free agency talk. What if we get T. Higgins?
See, there's a whole bunch of possibilities.
That sounds good.
But I think the situation will play itself out and we'll be able to decide. If we could, before we get Mr. Fox NFL analysis on here, Dean, if we could talk about Creed Humphrey, it is a problem because there's a lot of passing situations that Creed Humphrey is just having trouble getting the ball to Patrick Mahomes on some snaps. Now, this highlight here was obviously the worst of it, it throws off the timing. There is other snaps like in the Super Bowl through week 1 against the Lions, where the snaps on passing situations and shotgun situations are falling at the feet of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes isn't 6'9". We think that he is standing in the proper spot. So it's definitely something that needs to be worked on, especially when you're growing with a new left tackle, a new right tackle, new wide receivers. That one little split-second timing, if Patrick is having to constantly reach down and scoop the ball off the grass or off his shoe tops, it's something that's not being brought up. Stephen St. John did bring it up with Bill Moss yesterday on 810 WHB, but Stephen St. John and Bill Moss kind of attributed it to the heat down in Jacksonville, which, isn't very likely. I would agree with that. Only it happened in the Super Bowl. It happened
wet field.
I mean, Andy Heck's the offensive lineman. What the diehard old school Chiefs fans know about Andy Heck is that Derek Thomas beat him for 7 sacks in 1990. Somehow that won him an offensive line position. But I know people might be saying, hold on, Shaggy, that was 33 years ago. He's a good coach. But the point is, Andy Heck needs to work on this with Creed Humphrey saying, hey, let's snap the ball. Let's get our snap to Patrick, so everything's on time, so these receivers will be ready for the route, and Patrick's not bending over, picking up the snap off the ground. It needs to be addressed before it is too late. That highlight that Clint found from Sunday isn't pretty. That could have been a fumble. Somebody could have jumped on Patrick Mahomes' shoulder and ended his freaking year. So let's get those snaps up, Creed. I'm wearing your jersey because I love you. You're a hell of a guy. You went to the Pro Bowl, or you were a Pro Bowl player. Last year you weren't at the Pro Bowl because you're playing the Super Bowl. But Creed, this is his 3rd year in a row. Creed needs to get those balls up a little bit.
Hey,
you look here at the Sky Moore touchdown. The ball's a little low and away here on this touchdown. So
look at Sky.
Yeah, Sky making plays.
Right.
Stop talking about you, man. You know what you're doing out there.
I'll never do it.
But when it comes to Creed, this is how spoiled we are as Chiefs fans, is that we're critiquing an all-pro. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're here talking about an all-pro player as we see this beautiful play. A future.
As the corner falls down on.
Hey, Clint, how do you feel about if I say he's maybe a future all-pro, maybe one day? Sky.
No, all right, now you're going too far now, Michael. All right, now.
I'm messing with you guys. But
one step at a time, dog.
Yeah, Sky. Sky is showing. I don't know. It's all of the receivers just really trying to figure it out. And just looking at the Rams situation, right? Like, I covered the Rams for the Sporting Tribune, and you look at a guy like Puka, who is getting like 18 targets a game, because Matthew Stafford has that trust for him already. I think for Pat, it comes down to he has to gain more trust, or the guys have to gain more trust from Pat, because first game back, Travis gets 9 targets. I think Sky, with his 3 catches, he only had about 5 targets. So once that trust is there, I think we're going to see more from two of these guys to stand out and be the better receivers for this team.
Especially if corners keep falling down. We have this quote from White Men Can't Jump Here. You can't put a cat in an oven. You can put a cat in an oven, but that don't make it a biscuit. And I say you can catch a 54-yard pass when the corner falls down, but that don't make you a good receiver out here. So sorry, Sky Moore.
Hey, that is my movie, by the way.
Touchdown. I give him credit for it. I gave him credit for the touchdown.
Okay. Bro, that's a back shoulder throw, bro. Back shoulder in the corner, man. One-on-one coverage.
You love it.
Come on. And it's tough to get them catches on the run, too, when everything is breaking down. You gotta come back to Patrick, or it's a scramble drill, and you gotta do what you gotta do. Look, man, they're still under construction. It's a work in progress, okay? Well, the preseason is so important. It's important to get those lines. Why you got to stop bringing up Tyreek Hill, dog? It's been almost 2 years, and we won a Super Bowl without this man.
He's a freak.
Okay, that's fine, but we understand that. Okay, so man, it's fine, bro. When we let Joe Horn go, okay, and we were sitting here with Sylvester Morris, we wasn't bringing up Joe Horn highlights in 2001, were we?
If I had a show, I would have. I didn't have a show in 2001.
We gotta move on. We want to bowl without Tyreek is the one that's jealous of us. He's the one that doesn't have an extra ring on his finger. Patrick and Kelsey, they sit up there with an extra ring. So I don't know why we keep going back to Tyreek Hill.
Okay, we can go to DK Metcalf and George Pickens instead.
Hey, but each of those guys get the targets. Like Sky, isn't getting the targets.
Well,
like
who is?
It's going to be spread around that everybody eats. B.
Yep.
Everybody, you gonna get some chicken this week. Somebody's gonna get some hamburger this week. Everybody's gonna eat. He is going to we heard Patrick Mahomes' father. He came on this very show and he said, if Michael Irvin comes to you and he says, hey, I need the ball, blah, 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 what are you going to say to him? He's going to say, I'm going to find the open man. I'm going
which
to
is
the
currently
man who's
Justin
open,
Watson,
which is currently everybody, because everybody's eating. It's been
no one's eating. What you mean by that is no one's eating, right?
Everybody's catching the ball. What we talking about? Everybody's getting catches.
So like nobody. You mean by that? You mean nobody?
No,
right?
I
by
mean,
everybody.
No,
you mean everybody. Freaking nobody.
I mean everybody. You sitting up here acting
what is
like
this?
we're over
335 yards total out of 7 guys.
We're a tip pick. We're a tip pick 6 pass away from being 2-0. What do we? They're under construction, fellas. We got,
which is fine. Nothing wrong.
You got to be patient. You got to be patient with this. That's all I'm trying to say, man. We was patient with Tyreek Hill,
Nicole Hardman for 4 years, and he's out here with 1 catch and 6 yards.
He don't even play with us no more. What we talking about?
Yeah, I want to go back to last year.
We're gonna not. We got Dean in here.
Let's talk to Dean.
We're gonna have.
Oh yeah, bring the rules expert on.
This might get us back to reality here.
Where you at, Dean?
See, I could have kept ranting about that, man. Everybody's going to eat. Everybody's going to get an opportunity. Mr. Dean Blandino, welcome to the show.
Came in the middle of a little argument, Dean. We're going to go down and get you on here.
I see. I could hear that. I was curious as to what the argument was.
Oh, that was nothing.
Oh, please, bring him. Bring him in. So, Mr. Blandino, Noah is so stuck on Tyreek Hill and what he's currently doing with the Dolphins, as opposed to the collection of receivers, and they're under construction with the receivers. And we've already won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill, but he keeps bringing him up.
Well, you can't look. You won the Super Bowl. That's the one argument you can fall back on. But I certainly would take. I mean, I'd take Tyreek on my team over what you have currently. But I'm just saying.
But it's okay. So without time, so now we got to give up Trent McDuffie now, because that's the draft pick we got, right? Okay, sure. Okay. So do that. And then number 2, we are in the salary cap, fellas. Like everybody can't fit. Everybody can't.
I guess we have to give up Jawaan Taylor then, who we're going to talk about extensively here, and I think I would take that as well. So.
Dean's like, I did not sign up for this, but Dean, we did meet you at the Super Bowl, and you were our biggest social media engagement of the entire Super Bowl Radio Row. We talked to Rich Gannon and on down the line, but Dean Blandino, the one clip we did about Carl Sheffers, the refereeing the Super Bowl, was our biggest, most viral clip. So thank you for that.
Put all the Chiefs fans at ease, and look, the most controversial call of the game went for the Chiefs.
Yeah, but you did go on Dan Patrick and try to take a Super Bowl away from the Chiefs retroactively.
It happens.
No, you were kind of on the fence on that, the Bradbury hold. You weren't all in or all out on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have, think about it this way. Chiefs still win the game. Would you feel better about how they won, or Eagles get the ball back? They get a chance, and like a Malcolm Butler type interception in the end zone to end it. I mean,
I think I speak for all the Chiefs Kingdom when I say we don't give a damn. We got the Super Bowl. We will take it anyway.
We have medical conditions here, Dean. Please keep that in mind.
I get it.
Just win. So, Dean, we have to talk about it. Jawaan Taylor, who we saw the opening night. With people like, is he playing running back or is he playing tackle? What's your thoughts on, the way that he was officiated against Jacksonville this past week?
Well, look, you'll never point out a particular player. And I did this for a long time, and you put training tapes out and you never want to highlight one specific player. And look, it's hard to say, okay, Jawaan Taylor was kind of a story after the game against Detroit, and then we go out and have 5 flags on one player, which is highly unusual. So, look, they did highlight not just Taylor, but but they highlighted a bunch of offensive linemen from week 1 that were not lining up on the line of scrimmage. I think the officials obviously saw that as a point of emphasis. And I think of the 5, though, I think he got called for 2 holds. That's not really a line of scrimmage point of emphasis, and 2 false starts. Look, did it have an impact? I can't say it didn't, but I did look at all of the line of scrimmage stuff, the 2 false starts and the illegal formation, and they were fouls.
Yeah, we've got this here, Dean. If you can just kind of go through this, the illegal formation.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to break his helmet has to break the belt line of the snapper, and you can see he's too deep. I mean, you look at the other offensive linemen, and he's too deep. And I think that's again, and I think the Chiefs, right? Didn't they bench him at one point during the game?
Yes.
I mean, that's just the type of thing that needs to happen to get corrected, because you can't keep getting these penalties that take back plays.
And then what about this? I just wanted to go over this one play here. Is this offensive pass interference on Zay Jones? It wasn't called.
Yes, that is offensive pass interference. I think what happens sometimes is when, we look at the defense first on pass interference, and I think it's not that it by rule it's a stricter standard, but I think officials let more go when it's the offensive player trying to make a defensive player or a defensive play. But that is certainly pass interference. And had that been, I hate to say it, but had that been a defensive player, had it been the other way around, we probably would have had 3 flags.
Hey, Dean, I wanted to ask, as far as the refs talking to the players, I know they're right there with the receiver, so they have better communication with being on the line or off the line of scrimmage. But when it comes to offensive linemen, how much slack per se is given to the old linemen in regards to where they're lined up, because they can't hear the refs telling them to back up or whatever? How much slack are they giving on that?
Sure. They're giving one warning first. So the first time the official notices that, hey, this guy's kind of back, they'll go in after the play and go say, hey, 74, you got to move up. They'll tell the coach that 74 has been warned. And then after that, if it's not corrected, then you're going to throw a flag. So it's called preventative officiating. You see the receivers, they'll look, give a thumbs up. They're closer, like you said. So there's easier communication. Typically, the tackles aren't communicating with the official, but they will get that feedback after the play, and they have to correct it after that warning.
Dean, thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah.
My question is about Jawaan Taylor again. Hopefully we can close it out here. He played 5 years with Jacksonville. Then in the first game as a Kansas City Chief, this becomes an issue of him not lining up on the line of scrimmage correctly. Was this an issue with them this previous 5 years with Jacksonville, or is it the fact that the Chiefs are under the microscope, since they are the best team in the National Football League, that they are watched even closer than what Jacksonville was watched in previous years?
No, I don't think it has to do with the fact that he's with the Chiefs. Now, I do think because it was opening night, Thursday night, NBC, right? Chris Collinsworth was talking about it. Terry McCauley, the rules analyst for NBC, they mentioned it on the broadcast. So it got a lot of attention. I think because it was the national spotlight, first game of the year. I haven't gone back and looked at a ton of his film from with Jacksonville, but I do know that he has been a player that has had more penalties, and that's been an issue for him. So again, it just comes down to being able, they'll coach him up, and they're not going to, have a guy out there that's going to affect, the offense and their ability to make plays.
Well, Dean, I'm a big college football fan. You do such a great job on for Fox Sports for coming in and explaining things mid-game and on the broadcast and everything. So as we look at the season so far, which is only a few weeks old, the major rule, of course, this year was the clock not stopping except for under 2 minutes on first downs. How do you think that's affected teams? Has the data come back that has games been going quicker? They're shaving time off. I saw Missouri at Kansas State this weekend, and it seemed like Missouri called a timeout with like a minute 48 to go, because I don't think they thought the clock was going to stop in that situation. So there's still maybe some confusion from teams as well.
Sure. And I think the goal of all the rules changes involving the clock was to reduce the number of plays. It wasn't necessarily length of game. That'll take care of itself, but it was the number of plays, because when you add it up over the course of a season, especially a lot of these offenses in college, they go fast, they play that tempo game. And when you're talking about a game with 200, 220 snaps, where the NFL average is about 150 to 155. So think about how much more some of these college games are. And then you add that up over the course of a season. You talk about bowl games, CFP, if we expand to 12, that's a lot of snaps for the players. And the goal was to reduce the number of snaps because that's the potential for injury. Every snap is a potential for a player to get injured. And right now, through the first couple of weeks, we're down about 7 plays overall, and we've saved about 8 minutes per game. And I think that when you add that up, right, if you play 12 regular season games, 12 times 7, and then you're over 100 snaps that players aren't playing. And I think that the rules committee sees that as a good thing.
Dean, I wanted to ask you about Colorado State, everyone talking about Henry Blackburn's hit on Travis Hunter. Was it a dirty hit? Was it illegal? Should there have been a flag?
Sure. No, I mean, it was a foul, and they did flag it. It wasn't targeting where he went to the head neck area, so it wasn't an automatic disqualification. They certainly could have ejected him for a flagrant personal foul. I didn't think it was a flagrant personal foul. No question it deserved a penalty. It was late. And then, it's unfortunate. I was happy to see Dion, and he's been so great and what a story in college football. But Coach Prime, he came out and said, some of the death threats and things that's not right. So, it's still a game, and these are still young kids, and we've got to remember that.
My bad, Noah. In 2022, the Chiefs lost to the Colts, all due because of Chris Jones, according to his America's Game interview, calling Matt Ryan an old ass MFer. So he said, get your old ass off the field, but then he said, get your old ass off the MFing field. Now, the refs, is there like a cussing meter? Like, is it like, so I'm in radio. I got a morning show that I do, Dean. So, there are words that we cannot say on the air. Shouts to George Carlin for his testimony on this. So like on the football field, like, okay, I hear the cussing through the, the little, the line of scrimmage cussing that you hear with the sideline mics and all that, which I really enjoy, by the way. I love that. But with the refs though, is there like a meter of like small cuss words you could say, like probably ass and damn, and then they're like medium cuss words, like, all right, now you on the line now, like
you just can't call someone old.
Yeah, like you sound like That's the same conversation I have with my 12-year-old. I'll let he can say ass, but he can't say other words, right? But no, there's no magic word or cuss meter where that's too much profanity. I think what it comes down to is when it's directed at the opponent, when it's in the face, directed at the opponent. That's where it rises to the level of taunting or unsportsmanlike conduct. So the cussing is fine. I mean, there's no, like I said, nothing around that or any particular word. But if it's directed at the opponent or directed at the official, that's when it rises to the level of unsportsmanlike.
So can I have a second question, please, Michael? I'm sorry.
No, you got it.
I have to ask this. It's a follow-up. But with the XFL and the USFL possibly combining, is it the USFL? I think with those two spring leagues combining. So what if they mess around and like they got on HBO or something and they just had all in-game audio of players saying whatever? Do you ever see the NFL adapting to that? And I know, you can't do it on CBS, but we can do it on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Not on NBC,
hey, Dean works for Fox. We can't go
Peacock,
there.
Fox has a streaming platform. Do you see the NFL ever like allowing that? I'm curious.
I don't know. It's sometimes you don't, I don't think everybody wants to. I mean, they may think they want to hear everything that's said on the football field, but I think sometimes they'd be like, oh wow, that's that. I didn't think that was. But we did, in the XFL and the USFL, they have a lot more of the open mics and talking about, with the players and listening. But there is that downside because you have to have that on a delay, because especially if you're on network TV, you got to have that 5-10 second delay, because we had a couple of F-bombs and a couple of words that,
I love it.
You can't say on network TV, and then it becomes a fine. And so I'm not sure the NFL will ever go full full blast on that, but you know, we all love mic'd up, right? We all love listening to that. And I think but that's, you have the ability to record that, then edit it, and then play it after the fact, in game, in the moment. I think sometimes you put the players in a tough spot and the coaches in a tough spot because it's emotional. And look, if you had a hot mic on me every time I get in the car, I mean, you would not believe the stuff that I say. Somebody's in the left lane and they're driving the speed limit, and I'm calling them every name in the book. But anyway,
hopefully the 12-year-old isn't in the car. Hey, Dad, I couldn't say that.
My 8-year-old knows every cuss word because he's in the car with me.
Oh, dang.
Dean, it sounds like you're in LA with me, man. That's how I am driving because traffic.
Oh my God, yep,
crazy. But Dean, I just wanted to ask you. You know, you came on. We were talking about, you know, the hold at the end of the game of the Super Bowl. We just saw Monday Night Football. The Browns, a lot of their fans are screaming about, man, why didn't we get that call? You know, you hear about in the NBA how they say at the end of the game, the rest kind of like, you know, hold them to their whistle because they don't want to be the cause of a team winning or losing. What's the talk like? What? How do officials go about it when it comes to the end of games? Like, is it like, hey, earlier in the game we would have blew this whistle, but right now we're not going to call it? Like, how does that work?
Along with the Broncos 2-point conversion.
Exactly. Yeah. The 2-point conversion in Denver. You had the play at the end of the game in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And look, the officials, the direction is always, you got to call it the same way, right? You call it in the first quarter, you got to call it in the fourth quarter because you're creating a threshold. It's like, go back to Jawaan Taylor. You know, if they don't call it all game and then all of a sudden the Chiefs throw the game-winning touchdown and we call illegal formation, you're saying, wait a minute, you didn't call all game, right? So you have to have that same standard throughout the game. I think sometimes human nature comes into it where the official themselves may be less inclined to inject themselves in a situation because, this is 2-point try, this is the end of the game, I'm going to let the players decide. But you could take that too far because, like the Broncos, I thought that was a foul, and I thought by not throwing the flag, you're impacting the game. So it goes both ways. I think the best way, you know, the approach has always been, if it's a foul in the first quarter, it's a foul in the fourth quarter. If you call it one way, you got to call it the same way the entire game for both teams. And I think teams and coaches will live with that. As long as we know where it is and you're consistent, we'll live with that. If you let it go for one side, you got to let it go for the other side.
So, Eagle fans, you hear my guy Dean. It was a whole Super Bowl champs Chiefs, baby.
That's right, Michael. Hey, you know, Dean, my question is, 15 years ago, the first game of the season, it was the Chiefs at the Patriots, and Bernard Pollard was on a safety blitz, and he dove to get past the center and the guard, and he was on the ground. He made the tackle on Tom Brady. It happened to be right at his knee, and the end of the season ended for Tom Brady. After that season, they made a rule change that you can't dive at a quarterback's leg, which is understandable. After looking at Micah Fitzpatrick tackle on Nick Chubb last night on Monday Night Football, do you think that they will go kind of like the same line as 15 years ago, is like you can't dive at a running back's leg? How did you look at that tackle from last night? And do you see any changes possibly on that next year?
Yeah, anytime you have a devastating injury like that, you have to look at, okay, was there some way that we could, you know, make a rule that could avoid that? And we've had this discussion before. You know, there was a point in maybe 5-6 years ago where we had receivers that were getting hit low. You know, they would catch a pass, especially a tight end in the flat, right, turning upfield, and then they get hit low and they have knee injuries. And so the committee had discussed, you know, do you make that player almost treat that like a defenseless player and say you can't hit the player below the waist? But that really puts the defenders in a tough spot because, okay, I can't tackle him in the head. I can't go low. You know, where can I hit him? And I think that would be a tough play to officiate. I just think it's one of those things that he is a ball carrier and you have to be able to tackle the ball carrier below the waist. It's just so unfortunate because it's such a devastating injury and you just feel terrible for Nick Chubb. But I don't know if there's a rule change that you could write to avoid that.
It's just another thing against running backs. We won't pay him. We won't protect him. But you've got
I know. It is.
You protect defenders.
The running back position is not. It's not the place to be right now, I guess.
Man, that's tough.
Well, Dean, we saw you at the Super Bowl being grilled up there with the rest of the guys from Fox Sports. And I just wonder, because you have a background in stand-up comedy. So your life does not consist, believe it or not, of sitting around and talking about every NFL rule. I remember the guy in front of us was talking at nauseum about this eye in the sky, the laser and first down and markers. And I'm just like, I just want to know, like, Dean, like, what do you do outside of this? Do you ever get a chance to just talk about like going to a concert or something? Or is it pretty much just by the book? You've got to have your nose in the book and every rule. And I mean, what tell us something just about you and like what you like to do. You were a stand-up comedian, for crying out loud.
I did do stand-up comedy when I was living in New York City. Right now during football season, it's a lot of football. And I love it. Look, I get to watch football for a living, so I'm never going to complain about that. But it is sometimes, I do get constant text messages, especially during games. My brother still, and the NFL jokes about it, like the script, and it's all fixed. And my brother is convinced that the NFL is fixed, and that since I was the head of officiating, I'm in on it. And I signed an NDA that I can't tell anybody about it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how we were raised under the same roof, and he could think that way. But I love. I've got two young boys, so they're both into sports. So I love doing things with them, music, all kinds of stuff. I watch, shows, Netflix, video games, the whole deal. But a lot of it right now is a lot of football stuff, which is. I mean, it's a blessing.
Do you read the NFL rule book at night as a bedtime story?
Yeah,
I do have my rule book right here. It's always handy in case I need it, but I do not read it before I go to bed at night. No, I only read it when I need to.
Well, that makes sense. But Dean, we also wanted to play a little video for you, a video package. We're fat and happy here. We're Chiefs fans. We've got 2 Super Bowls. We've got Patrick Mahomes, but we always like to go back to the past and talk about plays that have devastated our souls, because that's just kind of what we were born. Before we had Patrick Mahomes, that's all we had is the down on our luck Chiefs fans and talking about how the refs stole a championship from us. And so we've got to go to this so you can talk over the video that's going to start out with this 2018 AFC Championship game and move down from there. That's the wrong video, but here we go.
Yeah,
Chris Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching this game. This was after the Saints-Rams NFC Championship game,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that call got so much attention, and this game had a bunch of stuff. And obviously, this is not a foul, right? It's not contact to the head neck area. Should not have been a foul. This one here.
Why are you doing this?
Forward progress?
No, I mean that's
That was
not
Jeff Triplett's
progress.
last game ever.
Yes.
Dean, were you still the vice president of officiating?
A lovely man.
Were you still vice president of officials at this point in January of 2018?
What year was that? That was
January of 18.
No, I was gone by then. I was gone for those. Yeah,
so we can't blame you.
Yeah, I wasn't. Can't blame me. This one goes back because this was the white pants. This was the official. So this was ways
they
back.
Gave Mark Anderson down.
Was that Thanksgiving 06? The first night
this
of Thanksgiving?
This is 05.
Oh, 05. Okay.
Mike Anderson stopped the yard short of a first down. Yeah.
Not a
they
first
got it right,
down.
though.
Nope.
They gave the Chiefs
you
the
guys
ball.
got screwed on that one.
Oh, no, not this one.
Okay, this
no,
one-
that's not.
This one, and you know who that official is right there, 77? So you can blame him for this one, not me. That's Mike Pereira.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes. So you can blame him for that one. This one, though, this is my man, Tony G. That's not a force out. You can't have a force out on that one.
We got legs down, and we have almost simultaneous legs and body.
That left elbow.
that left elbow.
We
Right.
do have
Left elbow
minimal
comes down.
contact.
You know what? You
But
should have
it's
brought
got
up.
a force out has to be more than that. And I'm glad they got rid of that.
Grab just
rule.
left elbow and throw him out, Dean. I'm going to need you to give it to us.
All right, fine.
Yeah,
You guys got
We really needed that win back in 1998, Dean.
Oh,
Just-
Dean.
I was gonna say you have Patrick Mahomes. You don't need to be
Right.
thinking about the past.
That's right. It was just a little fun.
I think I cried after that game, though, Dean, as a young child. So
I get the trauma. I get the childhood trauma. Trust me.
Brian, which one were you talking about?
I was talking about the Chris Jones roughing the passer against the Raiders last year on Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
where he took the ball out of his hand.
That one was when he was stripping the ball and they called body weight.
That was
That's what led to our
Yeah,
Hey,
I didn't like that one.
Can they review that? I mean, moving forward, that I know
No.
why is it they can't? Why isn't that reviewable?
I mean, they'd have to change the rule to review. I think there is an opportunity on some of these personal fouls because there's such big penalties to review it, but they've got to change the rule to do that. And so we'll see.
Well, Dean, it has just been a pleasure. We can't thank you enough for hopping on.
Thank you so much.
Not only talking some serious, but having some fun, going through a couple things. That's what we do here, man. We will definitely look you up as the year goes on, man. We've really appreciated having you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Dean.
love to come back anytime. Anytime the Chiefs get screwed, let me know. And
by the way, you do a great job with the XFL as heads of officials for XFL. What's that going to, I guess, real quick what's that going to look like? I mean, we don't have an official announcement, but Dean, you know something.
Yeah.
Oh, he don't know.
I know about as much as you do. I know that they're working on combining the leagues, which I think is great for spring football. And I think that'll allow it to be sustainable. But the details, I don't know yet. So we'll see.
Well, you do a great job.
Let's get out of here on a fun one. Just you said you were in comedy. Do you have a favorite comedian?
Top three. What's your top three?
Top three.
So, okay. So, I mean, I grew up on you mentioned George Carlin. I grew up with Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's probably my all-time favorite. But current guy, I was Louis C.K. I was a big fan, and then he got into a little bit of some trouble, so I can't be a fan. But Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, there's a bunch of guys that I really like, and there's some really talented people out there. Shane Gillis, there's a ton.
Yes, I was a Norm Macdonald guy. Sad, rest in
Oh
peace.
yeah, Norm Macdonald is, classic.
Oh, great stuff, Dean. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, see you guys.
Always an honor. Thank you.
That was
was
cool.
Dean Blandino, Fox NFL rules analyst for both college football and the NFL, also the head of officials for the XFL and what may become a merger league with the USFL. So Dean, guys, has been there and done it. And if the Chiefs, we got to keep Dean on speed dial here because if something goes wrong, we got Dean. He's got our back because we went to the Super Bowl. We went right for the throat on Carl Sheffers, and he set the pace. He said, "Hey, don't worry, it's going to be okay." And Carl Sheffers had a good Super Bowl, in my opinion. So
Yeah, he did, without a doubt.
I'm jealous of Dean because he gets to work with my man Gus Johnson.
you bet.
The GOAT.
Gus is freaking great,
is
and I
the
miss
man.
him on CBS on March Madness.
Me too.
And we don't get him near enough. I think Fox is.
We don't.
It's a great network, and God bless Dean and our good friend Tim Brando, who does college football on Fox. But
Tim Brando.
it gets lost in the shuffle so many times, and I think that's kind of the case for Gus. And I think
I hear Tim
Herrera on to talk about that force out. I didn't
Yeah, I
know.
know. I'm like, Mike is a new enemy now since I know it was him that was 77.
When I hear Tim Brando, I want a Dr. Pepper. Like,
how do
that's
you
just-
do?
I don't know.
Cole.
That's just the drink that comes to mind when I hear Tim Brando's voice on CBS.
So I wanted to ask Dean, when it comes to officiating, do they have anyone in their ear from like the league offices or the official office for certain stuff that's like telling them hey, you might want to look at this, because some of the calls you're like, why can't they look at that? Why can't they have a conversation and say, hey, we have changed the call on the field? This is like the Chris Jones strip sack. It's like it's no way that you miss a call like that. There should be somebody in their ear to be like, hey, you guys might want to meet together because this
before you wind up with a nervous call, voice cracking later in the game as the booze rain down on you. Yeah, exactly.
They do have New York in their ear, and sometimes you'll see that they overturn a call without even going under the monitor and looking at it. So they do have New York, but they also got to play by the rules. If they called body weight was on him, they can't go back and say, hey, you got that wrong. Oh, too late. Where were you guys 5 minutes ago?
And you realize that Dean Blandino, guys, was instrumental in implementing and training officials for instant replay when it came back in 1999. Dean was right at the forefront of that. And as far as implementing the system and the way they did it and the hood and all, that was all Dean. And he did a great job. And then he went off to train officials on it for years on how to look at it, how to read it, how to communicate. So that's all stuff that, guys, we're all football nerds here.
Yeah.
So
Real quick,
right.
The WCW
Speaking
power
of that,
call for refs.
do you guys remember the play and the teams that led to bringing replay back? Anyone remember? So it was Vinny Testaverde. I think the Jets were playing the Seahawks, and it cost Erickson his job because Holmgren came to the Seahawks the next year, I think. Vinny Testaverde tried to do a quarterback sneak in the end zone. He was egregiously short.
Oh, I do remember.
They called it a touchdown, and it cost Erickson his job. Yeah, go look that up. That was late 1998. That was, remember, the Jets were good. Jets went to the appreciate it. Yeah, Jets went to the AFC Championship game that year against Denver and got mollywopped. So yeah.
Yeah, because then Mike Holmgren goes to the Seahawks and they somehow unseat the Chiefs in '99 as the AFC.
Oh,
West
I was
champion.
at that game.
Still not that 17-0 to the Raiders. I'm still that's one for the history books.
Oh, the Tyrone Wheatley game.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
where we couldn't read the screen. We just kept bumping it off.
Derek Thomas last game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we do have bigger fish to fry this weekend, guys, because there is an NFL game. The Chiefs are hosting the Chicago Bears here on Sunday at 3:25 p.m. at beautiful Arrowhead Stadium. It's going to be a beautiful day. And boy, woof. That looks like a very sad bear there on the right now as you look at through 27
you look at those stats.
Justin Fields versus Mitch Trubisky, as a simplistic Twitter post would say, oof.
Yeah, I mean, he's worse in pretty much every category other than rushing yards. So that's a tough one for Bears fans to look at. They hated Trubisky. They got him out of there fast. They want to believe in Justin Fields, but these numbers, and it's not going to get any better with apparently the Chiefs, I'm told, have a top 5 defense. Is this the 90s?
Top 5, maybe. Top 5.
I don't think the Bears have the right coach for Justin Fields right now. I don't.
Hang on,
former Missouri defensive coordinator. Let's all lay off.
No, Eberflus is a good defensive guy. That offense has looked terrible since he stepped in the door. I'm telling you, Eric Bieniemy to Chicago next year.
I don't know if they do that because they already had Matt Nagy. I mean, that's a possibility. Bieniemy has to go somewhere.
What he's doing with
Matt Nagy wasn't really proven other than with being with Patrick.
So, like Eric's cutting his teeth now in a major way.
Exactly. Yeah,
the only thing I would say about Justin Fields is what I tell a lot of Bears fans, especially on Twitter. I'm like, I think that he's a great athlete. He's not a really good quarterback. Like, he doesn't really read defenses too well. Oh. He can make all of the throws. He can make a lot of great plays. But when it comes to playing the quarterback position, there's been a lot of guys that made it to the NFL that were great athletes, but they just weren't great quarterbacks. And last year, I think the Bears allowed him to be more of an athlete. He was doing a lot of running, and they were getting him out and things like that. But teams had a full offseason to prepare for what Justin Fields do best, and I think that's why you see a lot of his game being taken away.
Yeah, and this starts a run of really bad opponents here. Stunks.
We deserve it. We deserve it, okay? Yep. Especially after last year's schedule. We deserve it.
Not writing off the Chargers, and I think Minnesota still has some dangerous tendencies. We'll see.
They got dangerous tendencies, but Minnesota's going down the drain.
Yeah, I think they are. So this is what you like. I mean, we talked about the schedule. When you looked at it at the onset, it was like, oh, you've never seen anything so hard. Aaron Rodgers is in New York. The Vikings are the defending division champs from the NFC North. The Broncos are surely better with Sean Payton. The Chargers, oh my God. And then we knew what the Lions and Jaguars were. So this schedule is turned on its head quick. And this doesn't even include any games against the Raiders, guys.
With the defense playing at a high level for the first 2 games, that's something we all can be happy about. But each one of those games that you had just had up there are going to have different scenarios. Like Justin Fields, he isn't Goff and he isn't Trevor Lawrence, but he can run. So he's going to be able to move the chains on his feet. That something the Chiefs haven't seen this year. Granted, in years past, the Chiefs have dealt with scrambling quarterbacks, but I don't think
Michael Vick came in here.
Yeah,
2004 was it?
Yes, but I don't think every game is just a gimme like it should be because of the fact that, I talked to you guys before the show that last year the Chiefs went to Tampa and stomped them. We came back to Arrowhead feeling really good about ourselves and had a Monday night game against the Raiders. And before you know it, we're down 17-0. And we had to fight to come back and then win that game 30-29. Then later on the season, we come back on a Sunday night game against the Tennessee Titans, who was starting a quarterback named Dobbs. So he was starting, and before you know it, the Chiefs are down 8 points with 5.5 minutes left in the game, and Patrick Mahomes is facing 3rd and 25. And what I'm thinking before that down is, man, I'm glad we got our timeouts left because we're going to have to use them to make them punt. But on 3rd and 25, Patrick Mahomes runs for 30, takes it down the way, and ends up scores a touchdown 2-point conversion. The Chiefs win in overtime. I looked at those games before we played the Raiders last year and before we played the Titans with Dobbs at quarterback.
Or the Texans, or a lot of them.
Yeah.
The Rams, Bryce Perkins, that was a stinky game.
Being at home, okay, we should win this game. I feel good. And then all of a sudden you're down. So the Chiefs coaching staff needs to be on these players and act like and tell them it's the 85 Bears, because it is disconcerting to be down 17-0 to last year's Raiders and to be down 8 with 5 minutes left against an inexperienced quarterback of the Tennessee Titans that was on the field last year. So it looks good, but we've all been there. We all know it's going to come down to making the plays. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, and that's why I think you have to take it a game at a time. You have to respect everyone that you play. And then our offense, they have to figure it out. You know, if you want to blow teams out, you got to come out and score a bunch of points. So shout out to my guy, Himes, who's chiming in. He's saying that Mahomes needs to develop some chemistry and consistency with Sky Moore. These next few games, you're hoping that we see, you know, some big improvement from Sky Moore, from Kadarius Toney. You know, see if they can get Justin Ross in there or Rice, and that they can be a piece. I think this is a perfect time of the year to say, hey, these next few games, we need to be dominant offensively. It looks like we're going to have the best defense that Mahomes has ever had. If we can get our offense to be great, we can easily be the best team in the AFC and, you know, be the top team when it comes to making it to a Super Bowl. So I think offensively, the Chiefs have to figure things out, running the ball, passing the ball, protecting Mahomes, and etc. Because this part of the schedule is like back in the day, Brian. You know, when you play in sports, it's certain teams you play against that you say, hey, these are stat games. Like these are the games you want to get your stats and, you know, get your numbers up so you can be an all-star. So these are the games that the offense really needs to look at and say, hey, it is our time to take off.
Yeah, this is our get our shit together games for the later half of the season.
Absolutely. And we got Super Devil Juice in here. Anyone brought up Tyreek Hill yet? You missed it, but you know what?
Press
rewind. An hour and 2 minutes into the show. Let's go, but take it from the top. Tyreek Hill. No, I'm kidding.
Man, he's a Dolphin. Leave him alone. He's a Dolphin. It's this Chiefs kingdom, baby. We only talk about people in that beautiful Chiefs jersey. So we don't care about Tyreek Hill until we see him in Germany. That's when we'll talk more about Tyreek.
Anybody be awake for that game? 8:30.
Yes.
Yes.
6:30 for Mike Hill. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Guys, we got to get our predictions here. We had Dean Blandino join us and we kind of got off kilter. We had a late start time. So it's prediction time. It's the Bears. I don't think there's a lot about this game to analyze, which is why we didn't really bother to do that throughout this entire hour and 3 minutes. So Shane, you've been very vocal about this. I'm assuming you've got a really wild and fun scenario for us to see how this plays out. I want to start with you.
I think it's going to be 10-10 going into the fourth quarter, but the Chiefs will pull away and win 31-10. Patrick Mahomes will have 3 late touchdown passes and they'll pull away going away. What do you think, Brian? 31-10 Chiefs. I got.
I love that.
I do too. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah. I think the Bears are going to empty the playbook on special teams. There are going to be some fakes. So Dave Taub, I think that we saw that with the Lions already. So I think he'll be prepared. I see a blowout. I do. I'm going to be honest. You know, I normally don't pick the blowouts, but I'm going to go. I just feel it. 38-12. 4 field goals for the Bears. I like
12.
38-12.
What do you got, Michael?
It's gonna be a blowout. You know, Justin Fields to me just isn't that guy.
This could be the Colts game from last year.
Damn it!
I'm gonna say, but see, this time it's in Arrowhead. He's not Matt Ryan. So I think the Chiefs win 31-14. Sky Moore gets another touchdown. It's the Shut Up Noah and Clint tour for him. So I think that he's going to have a really good performance. I think Kadarius finally gets in the end zone this week as well. But 31-14, the Chiefs smacked them up, and we might see Blaine Gabbert on the field in the fourth quarter.
Dream come true for this Missouri Tiger. I think that I'm going to be interested to see what the offensive game plan looks like. Is there more emphasis on running the ball with Isaiah Pacheco, who had a tremendous toting the rock when he got it. 2 runs in the first half for the Chiefs. That's not going to work. We're going to see that at play. We're going to see a little more comfortability, I think, with Mahomes and the receivers, a little bit more lax of an environment. It's very hospitable at Arrowhead Stadium at a 3:25 kickoff. Chiefs win this one, and they win it something like, how about a weird score, like 33-16.
Hey, I like it. Yeah, I've got the Chiefs winning this one as well. I mean, they do have some weapons. I don't think Justin Fields can really get them the ball. It's going to be tricky with his legs. Khalil Herbert can do some damage, but I've got the Chiefs winning this one 31-15. Cairo Santos goes off. I almost said Connor Barth, another former. No, Cairo Santos goes off out there with 5 field goals. It's just like that Steelers playoff game, except it's not Alex Smith losing to 5 field goals. It's Patrick Mahomes beating 5 field goals with 31 points. And yeah, I think this offense kind of finds their way a little bit, whether it's Rashee Rice getting some, Justin Watson, MVS, Kadarius Toney, or that other guy that Michael and Brian talk about. He could go off and maybe get another touchdown, but yeah, 31-15, it's all Chiefs here.
Hey, so before I have to give a shout out to this defense. I just want to show them love because coming into the season, we were expecting maybe top 15, top 10 defense, but I think we may really have a top 5 defense on our hand with a great pass rush. We have 4 great linebackers. Like, I don't know how you give the snaps to which linebacker because all of them are ballers. The cornerbacks are looking amazing. The safeties are doing their thing other than Justin Reed. He has to figure some things out. But other than that, this defense is going to be so great as long as they can stay healthy. And the NFL has to beware because if this is a top 5 defense for sure, Patrick Mahomes with a top 5 defense, they might go 15-1, but, I'm excited.
Just some housekeeping before we get out of here, guys. Chiefs guy, do you think Nick Chubb's injury is career-ending injury? I do. I think he'll come back, but he won't be the same. And so
he's had a similar injury in the past.
It'll be
2015.
And Mike, I got a quick question about what we could hear announced tomorrow. The NFL, before they do a flex, has to give everybody 10 days notice. Do you see the Chiefs game being flexed out of New York for the Commanders, Eagles, or the Ravens, or for the Ravens, Steelers?
No,
I don't think so. I think they're going to keep it.
Too big of a market.
You think you think they keep it there? Okay.
I think New York is too big of a market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We're going to take that out.
Sauce Gardner versus Patrick Mahomes. That's
right.
Fine.
Yeah, for sure. How about us picking up Mike Evans? No, I don't think so.
The Bucks are 2-0. Bucks trying to go to the playoffs. They ain't thinking
Bucks
about
trying to blow
nobody.
Caleb Williams is what they're doing.
Yeah, they're close.
27-6, as Scott Hall says. Good guys. And we are out of here. Chiefs over Bears. All 5 of us got it. Chiefs! And I got to get to the outro.